Hi there everyone, it's Misty here from TheJollyFatElf. Welcome to another day in my 2019 holiday card series. Excuse me. Today I am going to be using this cute Eskimo Kisses stamp set and coordinating dies from Sunny's Studio. I picked this up at some point last year. I just couldn't help it. They are so adorable. So there's a little boy and a little girl. I'm stamping 2 of each, so I have 1 on each side for my spinner. And I'm just stamping them on the Hammermill cardstock. It's the 100-pound. I get it from Amazon. And I'm using Gina K ink because I'm going to be doing some Copic coloring. So once I get those done, I'm going to pull those to the side, and then I'm going to pick out the colors that I'm going to use. I pulled the colors from this piece of this pattern paper and this plaid because I was like, I'm using this plaid. I don't care what happens. So here I'm just coloring I'm just coloring them. I'm using 3 colors, but honestly, I could have got away with 2. It's such a small area. And I did go ahead and make them indigenous is how you say it. I wanted them to look like Native Americans. So I used dark skin and black hair. Now I'm Native American and pale as all get out, but I like to do different skin tones rather than just white when I make cards, and you guys have seen me do that. So use some grays for their black hair, and then I'm going to be using some browns for their skin, and I showed you all the markers at the beginning. You can go back and pause to write down the colors. And again, I'm just doing darkest to lightest here on their skin. I know a lot of people color light to dark. It really just depends on your own coloring style. I don't think there's a right or wrong way. I think it's just whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. And I like going in and adding my shadows and my darkness before I go ahead and color with the light. And again, I am not an expert. I'm still fairly new to Copics and, really figuring out my coloring style. So yeah. Anyway, so then I'm going to move on to their outfits. And for her, I'm going to be using purples, pulling purple out of that plaid paper. And for him, I'm going to be using blues. So I'm using V's and B's for their outfits. I really love how this coloring turned out. I really think it went with the paper very well. And I just turn on some videos on my iPad, and I just sit back and I color, and then I sit down and edit it. So it's relaxing, I think, for me, kind of therapeutic. And it's something that you could do this in front of your television. Like if you had a TV tray or something, or at the table, so you could watch TV, however you want to do it. Just set yourself up, color, and just have a good time. It doesn't have to be so serious. Crafting doesn't have to be serious all the time. So I used B00, I think, to color the white of their outfits. I don't like to use gray for white. I know a lot of people do, and they talk about how, when it backs up, it looks white, but to me it always looks a little dingy. It doesn't look bright white. So I like to use the lightest blue. And again, that's just my personal preference. Okay, now that I have them colored, I'm going to go ahead and die cut them. I'm going to die cut all 4. I did die cut a little off. It's me. I'm going to make a mistake, right? We are crafting in real life around here, people. Crafting in real life. So I went ahead and just went with it. And that's okay. It's a little crooked. I don't think people are going to be paying attention that it's off like maybe 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to run these through my Gemini. And then I'm going to bring in my infamous fishing wire. Again, you could use embroidery thread. Maybe thread to match the card would be really, really cute. But I just use this fishing line because I have 2 lifetime supplies of it. So I'm going to be using snail to glue this down because I'm going to be gluing the 2 of them together with snail. You could use tear and tape. You could use liquid glue. You could use glue dots, whatever your favorite adhesive is. is completely up to you. You just need something that will glue them together. And here I had to make sure I was gluing girl to girl and boy to boy. I was like, I have to make sure I'm getting this right. And the way I could tell was the little bit of blue on the back side of the paper. So there are my spinners ready, and I'm going to bring in one of these squares from the Layering Squares framelits from Stampin' Up! Because I wanted to put them in the square. I wanted 2 of them on the card, and I couldn't, they were too small to fit in a circle. The circle would have been way too large for the card, so I used these squares. I'm going to use them on the diagonal. So here I brought in a piece of Highland Heather from Stampin' Up! I cut it at 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm scoring it at 4 1/4. Then I'm going to bring in a piece of Whisper White for my inside card layer that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to cut down that piece of Designer Series paper to 4 by 5 1/4. And then I'm going to use some glue dots, just to adhere this piece of paper down, because I only need it down temporarily while we die cut. Because we can't glue it down all the way, because we're going to be we have to add the spinner part. So, like I said, just used a couple of glue dots, and I made sure to do it kind of in the middle so it wouldn't tear the cardstock. I'm using a piece of washi tape, and I really, really rubbed this good on my hand to get off most of all of the tackiness. I just wanted to make sure that I didn't tear this piece of, I said Designer Series paper, but it's pattern paper. So did that twice. And now I'm going to go ahead and add my little doodads, my little girl and guy. And again, I'm just going to start with some snail to start, and then I will add some tape. I had a really hard time getting them where I wanted them, and that's just because I made this card like toward the end of the day. I have rheumatoid arthritis, and so sometimes my hands can be a little not nice. They don't want to play. They're like, that's enough crafting for one day, Misty. So, but once I got it figured out, it was really easy to go. So after I add the washi tape tape that string down, I'm going to go around and cut off the excess. And then I'm going to adhere this to the front of the card, again, using snail. And again, you could use liquid glue, you could use tear and tape, whatever you want. And then you're just going to line up the rectangles, or the squares with each other. So then I'm going to bring in that piece of Whisper White. And this Merry Christmas is from that, I think it's called Nutty Christmas from Whimsy Stamp. It's the Nutcracker stamp set that I used last year. And I love this Merry Christmas. And then I'm just using an ink cube from Gina K Designs. I'm not sure of the color. I messed it up a couple of times because that's what I do. And that's why there's 2 sides to every paper. So that's it. So stinking cute. I'm pretty sure I added some glitter off camera, but I just think this card turned out so cute. It's a little different. I'm trying to get 2 images on the card like that, but I enjoyed it. I really like how it turns out. I love the pattern paper. Here I'm just trying to decide if I wanted to put something behind them, and I just decided to leave it open, and people can write a message if they want. So I was like, silver, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna leave it. So here is a look at all of the cards that I made this week. I hope you enjoyed this week of crafting with me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.